I just like, for whatever reason, I was like, I kind of like this whole bass thing. And it really, like, I took to it, which is so interesting that it was like my first, it just really, like, there's something about it that so speaks to me. And for like, I feel like it kind of like fits my personality,
Welcome to episode 92 of the Bass Shed podcast. My name is Ryan Roberts. What's up, folks? A friendly hello, howdy, how you doing? To all the new listeners. For those of you who are regular listeners of the podcast, I'm sure you're all aware that the Bass Shed has a strong partnership with Lemur Music in San Clemente, California. Over the past couple months, the folks at Lemur and I have been discussing launching a lessons program, and fast forward, I'm happy to announce that I'll be launching the Bass Shed Academy at Lemur Music in January of 2023, so January of next year. The Bass Shed Academy is a nonprofit organization I started to facilitate and manage the lessons program at Lemur Music, and also go into the community and do some performances and master classes. I'll be talking more about the Bass Shed Academy and the faculty of the program as it gets closer to the launch on January 7th. I'll have some information up at thebassshed.com shortly, and there will also be information at lemurmusic.com. In the meantime, stop by lemurmusic.com for any and all double bass related items and use the promo code TheBassShed, all one word, for 10% off. Alrighty then. My guest on the episode is touring bassist and vocalist Harmoni Kelley. Harmoni is currently touring with country music superstar Kenny Chesney. Prior to her joining Kenny Chesney's band, Harmoni had worked with Hank Williams Jr., Radney Foster, Bonnie Bishop, Holly Williams, and Louise Mandrell. You can learn more about Harmoni at harmonikelley.com. You can also follow her on Instagram at Harmoni Kelley. Now let me talk about this for a second. There's a little spelling trickery with her name. Harmoni is Harmoni and Kelley is Kelley. So on Instagram at Harmoni Kelley. I will have links up to all those pages at thebassshed.com/podcast/Harmoni Kelley. I had a great time talking with Harmoni, and I'm not gonna lie, folks. I'm gonna tell the truth here. Back in the day in Arizona, when I was playing country music, I had fun doing it, and I kind of miss it. I kind of miss playing country music, like being in a really smoking country band. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to play that stuff, and it was great talking to Harmoni about her gig with one of the biggest country performers that there is. So here it is. Here's my talk with bassist and vocalist Harmoni Kelley. Harmoni, how you doing?
Hi, how's it going?
Doing well. So I was on your website. I'm curious about the Essential Hat Company.
Oh.
Like, we'll talk about all the bass stuff, in a second, but I want to know about this hat company.
Well, a friend of mine and he actually used to tour with me, and we were trapped in Nashville during COVID because we were in rehearsals, and then, like 4 or 5 days later, we got totally shut down. So, we're stuck at this Airbnb with a couple of our friends, and he had this idea and we were bored. And he's from Athens, Georgia. And so he knew somebody that had like a little mom and pop print shop there. And so we printed like this run of, I don't even know how many hundreds we did, but it was cool for a little while. And then it just sort of dissolved, after the.
So do you just have boxes of hats laying around now?
No, we actually did it pretty smart. We would order kind of sort of in bulk, but then based on the orders we had. So he may have, a box of, 20 sitting around, but I think mostly we sold them,
All right, that's not too bad. Like 20 or 30.
Yeah. So surprising.
Yeah. So you're in Austin right now, correct?
Austin. Yes.
How long are you? No, you're from Austin.
I am. Yeah. I've lived here. I mean, I wasn't born here, but I've been here for, 35 years or something, like.
Oh, wow.
Almost like basically my whole life,
Okay.
Almost. So, but
where were you born?
Shreveport, Louisiana.
I have no idea where that is. Where is that? Where is that in the state?
It's like the northwest top corner.
Okay. I'm guessing super small town.
I mean, Shreveport's like it's small. It's, it's not. So I was born in Shreveport, Louisiana, and then right across, it's like super close, maybe 20 minutes from the border of Texas.
Oh, wow.
And so my parents, like my mom and actually really my dad's family lived on the Texas side. And so I was born there, but then I kind of grew up in an actually really, really, really tiny town, like 2,000 people maybe.
Wow. Wow. What town was that?
It's called DeBerry.
DeBerry?
Yeah. Capital DE, capital BERRY.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like somebody's name.
It must be. I have I would know this being, spending a lot of time up there, but I have no idea where the name came from. But it's this tiny little town and, it's small town Texas. And my parents were kind of like hippie kids. And
okay. Yeah, I was going to ask about that, given your name. Either they're musical or hippie.
Both, actually.
Okay. Oh, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. My dad still actually plays guitar.
Okay.
He's written a ton of songs and he used to have this band in Shreveport. And when I was born, I think it was either going to be harmony or melody. And my mom liked harmony. And so that's kind of, which I'm happy about because you don't meet a lot of harmonies,
That's true. And then, so what was the impetus for the move to Austin?
They were, it's small town Texas. So if you're like a musician or sort of anybody that thinks of things differently than, the conservative small town, you're probably going to want to get out of there. And I think my dad had always been curious about Austin. And back in, the early 80s, late 70s, Austin was a very different place. It was more artsy, little small college town,
Okay. What's the school there?
University of Texas. Well, there's a lot of schools, actually. I mean, there's the main one is University of Texas at Austin, which is where I went to school, actually. So
gotcha. All right. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But pre-college, so you get there, like, how old are you when the family makes the jump to Austin?
So the first time they moved to Austin, I think I was like 3.
Okay.
And they moved to Austin and it was always based around like my dad looking for work, I think,
As a musician?
Well, or just jobs.
Jobs, so.
When I was born, my mom was 18 and my dad was 24. Okay. And I think not planned.
Yeah. And that's so young. That's so young. Oh my gosh.
You're like, okay, we have this baby now. What do we do? And so my mom was kind of like, stayed home, take care of me. And then my dad was like searching for jobs and, going to school. He always wanted to be, he was for a little while, but he went to school for journalism.
Oh,
and
cool.
At this, little tiny town paper to Austin. And so they moved to Austin and I think he got a job like working in the distribution warehouse of Schneider beer.
Okay. I've never even heard of that.
Super random. So Schneider is like, there's a town called Schneider, Texas, but Schneider beer is like this really well-known beer here in Texas.
All the locals are into it.
Yeah, kind of. It's just been around forever. And now there's all these craft breweries that are opening up that, actually really great beer. So,
because Austin got pretty gentrified, right? Like a lot of tech companies are there and there's a lot going on there.
And it's still growing. Like it's kind of crazy. So very different than it used to be.
Yeah.
Back in the day. But I still love it. I mean, there are people who are from here that are like, they don't like Austin anymore. Austin's changed so much and,
right.
blah, blah, blah. But really it's like the soul of the town is still here.
Okay. Okay. Like still a thriving local scene.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, and I've lived in Nashville for about 5 years. And so I'm partial to the Austin music scene, maybe because I've been in it, and I like learned how to be a musician and be in a band here.
Right.
All my people are here and this is kind of like my comfort zone, I guess, in a way.
When I think of, I've never been to Austin or Texas actually, but when I think of Austin, I think of it as like Texas, but it has like this creative kind of alt edge to it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be like a mainstream Texas thing. Like, how would you describe the scene or the sound of in Austin?
I mean, the sound, well, like Austin is definitely this little pocket in like, people say that before, like Austin is the only place I would ever want to visit or live in Texas because it's like every other place in Texas. And, you know, like the rest of the state is like pretty conservative and, you know, like, so we exist in this little bubble, this little vacuum in Austin. So it makes it really cool because, you know, there's a lot of young people that are moving here and it is a cool college town and it's got a great music scene. And so I don't know, there's a lot of cool stuff going on here. Like I've been playing in just sort of like this, I play everything, I guess. I'm trying to think. It was like Americana music, singer-songwriter, folk stuff. But then there's also this like really cool, like R&B, funk, rock scene that's going on here too.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that. I would have guessed that like, you know, a couple states more east as you get into the South with the funk and the R&B and like Georgia and all that. But I would not have guessed it in Austin.
Yeah. So, and it's like, I don't know, we have a little bit of everything, I think.
Okay.
A lot of great places. And there's, I did not go to school for music, but
That's all right.
I did.
What did you go to school for?
Radio, television, and film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what was the dream? What was when you were going to school for radio, television, and film? Did you want to be on camera? Did you want to work in production?
I wanted to work in production. I always I wanted to edit.
Really? That's the worst of it all.
Of it.
Really?
I like.
You want to edit these for me? I'll just send you these. Like, if you're so passionate about editing, seriously, I got work for you. I definitely have work for you.
Let me send you my files.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's like there's something about like creating something. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's like some overlap in you know, being a musician and maybe playing bass even, that there's this like cool thing of like taking all these pieces and sort of making this cohesive thing out of all parts.
Sure. That's definitely bass player stuff. Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah. Making it make sense, creating this little bed for everything on top of. So maybe has a similarity to, you know, between editing and playing bass.
All right, man, editing sucks.
And it's not like
so bad.
Definitely moments where I was like crying or like, you know, sitting in here looking at Adobe Premiere, like, why are you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's awful.
It can be.
Yeah. How do I get all my workspaces back? What just happened? They all caved and now I can't find anything. And then the computer crashes and then. You're
not wrong. I mean, all of these things have definitely happened to me, you know, but I don't know why. Like I loved it. And at the time when I was in college here, it was like we were usually in like Final Cut Pro, which I loved, and now has totally changed into something completely different. And we were using, but everything changes. So, you know, it's like anything with technology. It's like if you keep up with it all, you know, constantly, then if you try to dive back into it, you know, 10 to 15 years later, it's like very overwhelming.
Yeah. And there's always, they just update stuff. And like the last time I opened Premiere, there's like the whole thing's different. And now I got to relearn it. You know, I didn't even have a good grasp on it. I knew how to do what I needed to do. It's such a pain.
It's a huge pain in the ass. Yeah.
So were you playing when you were in college? Were you playing bass yet? And let's start here first. Was bass your first instrument?
Yeah, bass has kind of been my only instrument, which is, I mean, I have that drum kit over there, which I do. I mean, I think like I'm a rhythm section girl, you know, but my dad played guitar, but he never like pushed me to play. I remember him trying to teach me chords and just me getting frustrated and like not really understanding that. I never was drawn to keys. My parents never put me in like, you know, piano lessons from the time I was 8 or anything like that.
Right.
Around music, and I grew up around my dad playing and, you know, falling asleep on a picnic table bench, you know, when my dad was playing a gig at some random dive bar with my mom, you know, like listening to like vinyl at home and all that stuff. So, and the stuff he was listening to was really like kind of rhythmic rhythm section, kind of heavy stuff,
Okay. Like who?
Like Little Feat.
Okay.
The band.
Yeah.
Taj Mahal, Ry Cooder.
Okay.
It was like a very eclectic mix of music. And so when I grew up and became an adult who was playing bass, I like sought out all those records again, because they're nostalgic and they're great. And so now I listen to them, all the time. But so I was 17 when I picked up the bass. So I really oddly late start, I think, compared to all the other people that I know.
It seems like that, doesn't it? It seems like that at the time, like, oh wow, everybody. And then there's always that thing, I think, even after you're a professional, that everybody else is always ahead of you.
Oh, we completely. Yeah.
That's always the feeling all the time, is everybody else has a jump on it and you're just, trying to hold on and keep up. That permeates the whole career and occupation, I think.
I was going to say, and even now, as like somebody who's been playing forever, that has like, one of the greatest, biggest gigs, I'm still, I feel like I should be doing something, I should be doing more, or, but it's like, I don't know. I'm trying to make peace with it, with all of it. But I started playing bass because I was a really big Guns N' Roses fan when I was in high school. And a friend of mine was like, let's start a band, because we were fans of Guns N' Roses.
Start a band guy. There's always a start a band guy.
Let's do this. And because we're obsessed with Guns N' Roses, we had the pictures on our wall and all that. Yeah. Watch videos all day long. And so she got a guitar, and I was like, she was like, well, you love Duff, so you should get a bass. And I was like, that's a great idea. My parents, and they were like, oh, okay, like we'll get you a bass for Christmas, but that's all you're getting. They didn't have a ton of money. And so I picked out the bass. It was just like a made in Mexico, little Fender P bass, and got like a used PV TNT amp.
Okay. Like 115, right? Is that what those were?
Yeah, it was 115. And like at some point the cloth came off the front, and it was great. I loved it. Got it at like a pawn shop. And so I just,
of course,
started, I didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And so I just, started sitting on the floor of my parents' living room and like putting on CDs or records and just sort of like picking out the bass part, Okay. That kind of I noticed that I was like drawn to bass. Some people are like, oh, I immediately hear the guitar part, or I can hear the key part or the drum part, but I could always hear the bass part first.
Okay.
For some reason, my ears were like in tune with that, I guess.
Right. You're already dialed.
Yeah. I was a little bit more dialed into that. So,
okay.
Yeah. And I never went to school for music.
Any private instruction along the way at all? Nothing.
I took one lesson. I was in this band in Austin, maybe, 10 years ago or something, before I moved to Nashville. And there was a couple songs where I had to like do a couple slap parts. Mm-hmm. And I was like not super familiar with that technique wise. And so I called a friend of mine in Austin who is known for that. And so I sat down lesson, and he just kind of showed me basically, position stuff and some technique, but that's the only.
Right. That was it. Just like a little brush up on slap bass.
Yeah. That's all I've ever had. So, and I would call myself like a meat and potatoes bass player, but I'm a really good listener, and I feel like I play for the song, and I got really good. There's a couple guys that I played with here in Austin that like you would just get thrown into the fire, and my personality is very much, especially back then where I wanted to know what was going on, and I wanted to like know what the songs were about, like maybe make my own little chart.
Right. Do you have siblings?
I do have two brothers. Yeah.
Okay. So then that's just like the oldest child syndrome of the structure and the where are we going? And because I have to crush this.
Yeah, exactly.
getting thrown in, it doesn't work out. That's not an option. Like I have to crush it. And so how do I succeed? And I need everything. Yeah.
Which, I mean, as you probably know, it's like that doesn't always work out as a musician.
No.
So it was actually perfect because I got in these bands with these guys who were like, and one of them was very, and he was like kind of one of my he's still around, but he's one of my mentors really. Like, he taught me, he never had a set list. We never rehearsed. Anytime he brought a new song to the table, we learned it on stage, in real time.
Okay.
And so it was like, I had to sort of get really good at like reading guitar chords and understanding cues and, just listening and paying attention and also probably most importantly, like not giving a shit.
Yeah.
Like really letting go of that notion that it had to be, everything had to be perfect and I can't mess, it would be like, look,
that's a big one.
If you make a mistake, just say it loud, like tiptoe around it. If you don't know, just play with conviction,
know? Right. Just own it and then fix it later.
And so that's like, it served me so well, in my life as a musician. So, yeah.
Yeah. So when you're going through and learning by ear from either records or in this case on the bandstand, how would you, without maybe any music theory training, what would you qualify these sounds as? If it goes from a G to a D and that's a fifth, but maybe you don't know the name of the interval. How did that make sense in your mind?
Well, and I don't even think I was thinking of it in those terms yet. I was just sort of understanding maybe patterns in songs or like we would start to go, oh, okay, I think it's probably going to do this, and my fingers would know kind of what that meant. Like in my mind, I'm like,
where to get that sound.
Yeah, exactly. Like I would understand kind of like what the interval is supposed to sound like,
right.
To this note, even though I didn't really understand what that meant even.
Yeah.
I got like I had one of those Mel Bay, like old school, like learn to play bass.
Essential bass one or something. Yeah. That's how I taught myself to play too. Yeah.
That's funny. And I
never even made it to book 2. I don't know what happened, but book 1 was enough. And then I got into something else.
I don't even think I finished book 1, but I was like stuck on this one part because it's like you unfolded, like the middle of the book was like a picture of the fretboard.
Yeah.
Basically showed you where all of the notes, like the open strings, and then where all the notes occurred on the neck of the bass.
Yeah.
Because of the way that my mind worked, I was like, okay, I'll do this. And so I went and like cut out these little tiny pieces of different color construction paper. And so like I assigned every note to a color. This is how my brain works though. And I'm like, I just have to go with it. So I think.
So now, were you doing octaves too? So like an open E is a different color than E at the 12th fret or E at the 7th fret?
E was blue, right?
Okay, so just all E's are blue.
Yeah. So then when I looked at the fretboard, I started to see the pattern of like, okay, where like the open string and then where's its corresponding note, so I don't know. It helped me see the patterns,
Okay. Yeah.
A lot in patterns, I guess, visually.
Yeah. The electric bass is great for that.
Oh my God. Upright. But yeah, so that's kind of how I, and then later, I had to sort of figure out what it all meant in a more in-depth way. And it's a friend of mine was like, hey, do you want to teach bass he had like a little music school in Austin. And I was like, and that's still, it's one of those things where it's like, man, I didn't learn that way. So I don't really know how to teach people how to learn the way that I learned, And so, but
without like just a ton of cardboard paper in a file cabinet.
Yeah. So it was luckily most of the kids that were learning how to play bass, which I totally got. They just want to learn how to play songs.
Sure.
Like they really just want to like, how do I learn how to play this Green Day song or this Taylor Swift song or whatever, that's really what people want to do is like practically how to be able to pick up a bass and play with other people maybe,
Yeah. But, and I think that process also informs like, what are your options when creating bass lines and fills and all that stuff? Like it's a really It's a great resource.
Yeah, totally.
What are some of the songs that you would teach regularly or that have meant a lot to you
when
learning the tunes?
They would always the kids would always come in with songs that they wanted to learn, I'm trying to remember, it's been so long since I've done that, but it was always like White Stripes, something like that, where it was like super basic, easy, because at that point, if you're really just kind of picking up a bass for the first time, it's less about, to me, it's almost less about the notes and more about like being able to sort of play in time and understand what that means, and like playing with the drummer on the record, or whatever. Yeah. How to thump the bass string if you're going to play with your fingers, like in a sort of,
structured time.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a lot of stuff like that, like super simple bass lines.
Okay.
But I one of the first bass. Well, I mean, I remember practicing. I probably bit off more than I could chew, but I remember sitting down with a Green Day record, and like picking out those bass lines.
Okay.
Back in like the late 90s, early,
like Dookie, that record.
Yeah, that record. And then what was the one after that with Longview on it? Was it called Longview?
I don't know. I didn't even really listen to Green Day then. I'm
about to go see them in Austin, actually.
Really?
In like a couple weeks. Yeah.
All original lineup still?
I think so. Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
But those guys have been doing that for,
Yeah. I played some festival. I don't know when that was. Maybe it was like 5 years now. But No Doubt was headlining the festival. So me and the drummer that was in the band I was playing with went up to the main stage, and it was pretty surreal to see No Doubt live.
Yeah.
Because I grew up listening to No Doubt, and it's just,
And that's still, I feel like they're still the same lineup too, right?
They were for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they were doing some kind of reunion tour at the time that, now isn't happening, but.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing that they're all still.
Yeah. They're all still out doing it. Yeah. Yeah. Good for them. Okay. So 2 things. That band that your friend wanted to start, that you guys wanted to mimic Guns N' Roses. Did that band get off the ground, and what was the name of it?
No.
Okay.
No, because it was like, she never really, I hate to say it, but she never really like continued on with that whole, like, I want to play guitar. I think it was the notion of like, let's start a band, and that's probably super common. It's like the idea of being rock stars is really cool, but the actual like practicality of like learning an instrument and learning.
Yeah. Right. Developing a craft, a skill set. Yeah. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah. So I just like, for whatever reason, I was like, I kind of like this whole bass thing. And it really, like, I took to it, which is so interesting that it was like my first really, right. It just really, like, there's something about it that so speaks to me. And for like, I feel like it kind of like fits my personality,
Sure.
Be a bass player.
Yeah. Okay. So then what happens after this? Now you're playing, your friend drops the ball. The band doesn't happen. So are you're just back in the room learning tunes? Are you going out locally to try to get involved in a project?
This is the like blurriest part of my whole like bass playing career, is like somehow I went from like learning how to play bass, and then, in my maybe mid 20s or something, I remember it's like I got an opportunity to play with this drummer in this band. I mean, it was just this girl, singer-songwriter. She was very young, and she didn't quite, the songs were good. She had a great voice. And so that this drummer was in that project, and he and I played together, and we like really locked in with each other. And he's quite a bit older than me. And so I think he was kind of like surprised, like, wait, who,
right. Yeah.
Where did you come from? Kind of thing.
Yeah, how is this happening right now?
Yeah, like I suddenly appeared out from under a rock, and like, who is this chick with the bass? Yeah. And like, that was just like, he got another opportunity to pull me in on a gig, and then other people saw me, and I started to learn and get better. And then it was really like my whole life just snowballed, Okay. And then I was playing with like, I don't know, the Austin music scene is pretty small in a way. And so everybody kind of knows everybody.
Right.
Even there's always a less than 6 degrees of separation,
Yeah.
Easy to kind of like get known and make a name for yourself, especially. And I think being a female bass player too, makes
that was unique.
Very recognizable. And my name is very unique. So
right. You had a lot of good branding going for you there.
It was at the time, but I like now, I totally, it's like, yes. Yeah. So, and then I was like playing with, there's these local bands that made it sort of Fastball. Do you remember the band Fastball?
What was that hit?
The Way.
Yes. Yeah.
My Head was another one that just sort of got some resurgence because it was on this track.
Is Fastball from Austin?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So those guys are from here. So I played with one of the guys on his solo project, and then they pulled me in to play with Fastball, and then I ended up playing with the other songwriter on some of his projects, and then the drummer ended up playing on a bunch of projects together. And there's another guy here named Bob Schneider, who's kind of like Austin's local darling, badass. He dated Sandra Bullock for a little while, so he got a little bit of fame.
Okay. Was Sandra famous at this point, or was it like back in high school pre-fame?
No, she was famous. I was with him when they dated, but I think him dating her kind of, because he would end up on the cover of like Us Weekly with her or something, and people were like, "Who's this dude from Austin?" So people sort of
Is
like
she from there.
I don't know that she's from here, but I know she lived here for a while. We'll have a place here, but so I don't know. I played with him, and that was like. His set is anything from like funk, to like funk, rap, R&B, to rock, to singer-songwriter, acoustic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he's got a really interesting, eclectic kind of thing going on. And he had back in the day. So that was an interesting experience. That was my first experience being on a tour bus, was playing with him. And this was in like, I don't know. It didn't seem like that long ago. It was like in 2008,
It didn't seem like that long ago, but that's like what, 15 years?
Yeah, which is God. So I don't know. My life just sort of did this like snowball thing, here in Austin. And then,
how'd you get the audition with Kenny?
Man, so I was here in Austin, and one of my good girlfriends who also plays bass, she had moved to Nashville. Now she's been there on and off for like 10, 15 years or something. But at the time she'd been there for, 4 or 5 years. And she was playing with Hank Williams Jr. and had been for like a few years. And she and her husband were pregnant with their first baby, and she hadn't yet told the band, and she hadn't yet told Hank and the tour manager. Right. And so she said, she called me and she was like, "Hey, I know that you've always been talking about kind of finding a reason to get out to Nashville and have a foot in the door." Cause it's, much like any other music city, it's like not a place necessarily that's easy to break into. And you don't necessarily Nashville, not having any friends and just sort of like get your foot in the door.
Yeah, all my friends that have done Nashville tours, it happened because they had an in and then moved there later. Yeah, my friend Pat toured with Big and Rich and Darius Rucker for a while. Oh, nice. But like he did it all after, like he got grandfathered in, and that's why he left Arizona, was because he already had connects. Yeah,
that you have to. I mean, that's the only way. And so this is kind of one of those. She said, if you can move here, I'll make sure that I okay it with the band and with Hank and everybody. You could sub this gig for me for, 6 to 8 months while I take time. Because I think she was going to be having the baby right as their tour was starting.
Okay.
And didn't want to lose the gig, but she was like, this could be a really great win-win for both of us,
Right.
And so I was like, man, that's awesome. And what a great reason. And so I was able to pick up and move to Nashville. And before I moved, I went and played one gig with Hank at like Stagecoach Festival out in California. And it was sort of unexpected because she was like, they'd added this one show in like April, and I wasn't supposed to take over until like June. And so she was like, look, can you do this? Like, I'm too pregnant to do this show. And the stage is really, it's the loudest stage I've ever been on, you know? Yeah. It's not going to work for me being pregnant. So can you come play this one? And I was like, shit, okay, now I have to haul ass. And like, she'd given me this DVD and like the set and everything's a medley. And he's really a trip to play with, you know? So I had to learn a lot of, Hank Williams Jr.
Oh, Hank Williams, okay.
So I had to learn a lot of their set and changes and, you know, the way that he sort of will go from one song to another with no explanation. And
right.
And then I showed up at Stagecoach and it was great. I met the band.
No rehearsal. You just learned from DVD right to stage? Okay.
There was no rehearsal. There was barely a sound check, you know.
And his MD was cool with all this?
Yeah, they had all okayed it. You know,
okay.
They're going to be coming in. Rachel's going to step away. She's going to be with us for the summer. So this will be a great first show, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so I did that and I crushed it. And the band was like, oh my God, you nailed it. High fives backstage. Like, You're going to be on tour with us this summer. It's going to be awesome, blah, blah, blah. So then I went back to Austin because I hadn't moved to Nashville yet because the tour was starting until June. And then I went out on tour with Fastball like a month later. We were up in Boston. I'll never forget it. And I got a call from the tour manager and he had this sound in his voice. And I was like, something's not right here.
Uh-oh.
I was like, what's up, Charlie? And he was like, Harmony, I don't know how to tell you this, but Hank has decided that he wants to use the bass player who was in the band before Rachel, and she's just going to take over. And, you know, and I was just like, bro, I'm moving to Nashville for this gig.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, and I've never done this, but I was like, all right, whatever I didn't do at that Stagecoach gig, you just tell me. You talk to Hank.
You'd only played the one with him. You'd only played Stagecoach. Now you're preparing to move. Okay.
I'm preparing to like be out on the road with them for like 8 months, you know? And I knew I had crushed it. And I would
take that so personally. Like, what did I do? What was wrong? What was wrong? Just tell me what was wrong. It won't be wrong next time.
I am not the person that shows up to a gig underprepared or.
Right. You have the blue dots. You know where you're going.
I got the blue colorful construction paper.
That's right.
Nice. You know, I know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I was freaking devastated.
Of course.
And at that point, I was like, the ball was in motion. Like I was moving to Nashville.
Did you have like a deposit on a place yet? Did you? Oh man, you were in it. Yeah.
Like all my friends knew and everybody's like, oh my God, you're going to go play with Hank Williams Jr. You know, things like I didn't talk about it until I knew that it was actually happening, you know? And then in the end I was just like, well, it still wasn't a thing apparently.
Right.
So Rachel, my friend, never got her gig back.
Okay.
I sub for Hank, you know, so
that's kind of, doesn't that make it a little bit better though, that she didn't get the gig back?
Yes.
Because if they would have like let you go, use the other guy, and then she got it back all together, it's like, okay, that wasn't me.
What did I do wrong?
Yeah. Then that would have been aimed. Yeah. So if she never got it back, then it's like, all right, maybe they're telling the truth.
Yeah. And I think it was one of those, like, she had the gal who had been in the band before had stepped away to go pursue this duo project with her and another songwriter, thinking it was going to be the thing. And then that didn't end up being the thing. But by the time I knew that, my friend had already been with him for like a year. And so my suspicion was that she was kind of she was looking for the way back in, you know, so, which is fine. Right. Honestly, like it all worked out for the best. So, I stuck around in Nashville and actually through the same friend got my name put in the hat for the audition whenever Kenny was having bass auditions. And it's not like I don't know how they do it in LA, but it wasn't like an open bass call. It was like the band is going to bring forward like 4 or 5 people, you know, based on recommendations of the people already in the band.
So it was kind of insular, like only recommendations from someone already in the band. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got my name put in the hat by the guitar player. And then, just showed up and auditioned for him without him there. They basically sent me like 6 songs, I think. And, half of them had background vocals on it and, showed up at sound check there and, you know, I mean, there's a whole story behind that too, where I really like I can't even believe that I got the gig.
What's the story?
I was so out of my element. Like
what with Kenny's music or with the singing or what?
No, not really any of those things. It was like
Okay.
it was like the technical aspects of. So I had so modern country is very 5-string bass,
big time.
much like gospel and R&B stuff like that. Modern country definitely like a lot of those players are playing 5-string bass.
Yeah.
I never touched a 5-string bass before, and I was very like I had a little.
So it's like if there's a 5-string on the record, you're gonna go into a 5. You're gonna cop the record, and just like when they go, if it's that breakdown, double chorus, and they go super low, you're gonna do that.
Yeah.
For the live show, okay. And you've never touched a 5-string.
Yeah, I never touched 5-string, and then they sent me the songs like maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the audition, and I was to them. I was like, okay, there's definitely like a low B thing on most of these songs.
Yeah.
Nobody told me. Nobody's going to be like, hey, we really need you to play, because the keyboard player doesn't. He doesn't care. He doesn't know necessarily. I mean, he does, but he's not going to tell me that.
Right.
So I was like, well, I could either play it on a 4-string and play it up higher, and it's going to sound different, and maybe that's fine. Or I could just waltz in and pretend like I know what the hell I'm doing. And so I called up a friend of mine who I'd gotten to know, and I was like, hey, can I borrow a 5-string? I'm thinking about buying. I borrowed his bass just to practice the tune.
Okay. I thought you walked right into the audition on a 5-string, because I knew how that story was going to end. Everything's going to be a 4th off. Yeah.
Listen, but even rehearsing, like practicing with that for like 2 weeks, it's not as bad as like upright to electric, but people are like, oh, it's a bass. I'm like, no, it's so much more than just a bass. You know what I mean? You become totally comfortable playing this thing, and then suddenly there's another string and it totally messes up. Yeah. You're playing the B string when you think it's the E, and then
if you look at it, it's all messed up. The spacing's different. Like, you gotta like just practice the bass. Yeah.
Yeah. So I basically had to learn this whole new instrument for this audition. But honestly, like, I'm glad that I did, because that's all I play for that gig now, Okay. And so I walked in.
So I see a Music Man behind you. Is that the main?
Yeah. So
the main axe?
I used to play that. And then I play a Fender, like a 5-string Fender P bass. Okay.
I love the 5-string P.
I do too.
Yeah, man, it's so amazing. I need to get one.
It's great. Fender's like, I was like, before I had a Fender deal and an Ampeg deal, I waltzed into this gig with no money, and it's like, well, I got to buy, like, so the guy before me had a PV deal and a Ernie Ball deal. Okay. And so like, basically they'll give you whatever you want. Right. And so I was like, well, that works out with my whole, like, I'm kind of broke music.
Yeah, because I have no money to buy anything yet.
Yeah, you want me to buy basses and backup and like, I don't. So I was like, well, they're going to give me this stuff. So for like the first year I used, and I'd always been curious about Music Man basses, and so I played that. And then for that first year and a half, I was like, this isn't me. Like, I'm a Fender player. Like, I always have been, it's what I've always played.
It's always been P basses?
No, I'm in jazz and P basses, but like that bass is like this 60s reissue P.
The blue one?
Yeah, that they labella flats on there. So that's kind of like go-to bass, when I'm around town. But and then my 5-string P basses live in a locker with all of our other gear. Sure. So I rented the day of the audition. I actually rented a 5-string from the SIR. Okay. I walked in and our monitor engineer was like, hey, everyone was so friendly.
Oh, so was the audition at SIR?
It was at Soundcheck in Nashville.
Okay. Because I just think, like, in my mind, like, you're at the counter, like, paying for your rental, and here comes the band that you're going to be sitting in with if it were all at SIR, that would be hilarious. Like, what? She's renting a bass for the audition? This isn't going to go well.
I played it so cool, though. I was just like, okay, you just got to pretend like you know what you're doing, because confidence goes a really long way.
Sell it. Right.
So I sold it. I really
Good.
did. And so it was that. And then I walked in and the monitor engineer was like, hey, do you have your own ears? And I was like, no, I don't. I don't, because that's not really a thing in Austin.
Yeah.
Necessarily everybody having their own in-ear monitors because everybody's on ears and, like that we're playing like clubs with wedges,
Yeah, right.
That was
and like some 1983 wedge that's blown.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I don't. And he could tell I was like starting to like spin out. He was like, it's okay. I've got these like generics, we'll pop those in and, you're going to do great. They were so sweet and supportive. But these in-ears, it was like the ones where they have like the little squishy thing on the end and you have to squish them and like shove.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm at this audition where
if they come out just a little bit, you lose all bass frequencies.
Oh,
like
yeah.
if there's any little gap, it has to be all the way inside your skull to hear the bass.
And it kept I have little ears. And so they kept like falling out.
Oh no.
I'm playing this 5-string that I'm like not comfortable with at all. I'm singing on half.
Sounds like a nightmare.
It was the most nightmare audition I could have ever imagined. And somehow freaking got the gig,
That's amazing. How many auditions? Just the one?
So I did one with the band and they recorded it. Like they had like an iPhone set up at the back, like the production manager, somebody was like recording it on a tripod. Mm-hmm. And so it was me and the band. And then they were like, we're auditioning these 4 other people and then we're going to send them to Kenny and he's going to pick the person that he wants to bring back in to audition with him.
Okay.
Great. So, you're in this and I'm doing all this shit and I know that the camera is on. I'm trying to sing and like, look, engaging and like, I don't know what he wants or what he's looking for, but whatever. And so then I got chosen to come back in and, I met him and we played through like one part of a song and he like took the band out into the hallway and I was like, oh my God, I've totally blown this whole audition.
Yeah.
And then he brought everybody back in and they just totally fucked with me and made it gig. And he was like, nah, I'm just kidding. You got the gig. I'm like,
sweet.
What?
Sweet. How long ago was that? How long have you been with Kenny?
I auditioned in 2014.
Okay.
So it's been a minute.
Damn,
and
8 years?
Yeah, I did the first tour. I think we did like the fall of 2014, like that November. He got nominated for some award and maybe won an award. And so they were like, hey, we're going to play, the CMT awards or whatever it was. And I was like, whoa, this is my first
TV.
It's my coming out party for like, oh, here's the new female bass player on national TV, So, and then we toured, like we started our tour in 2015. That was my first tour with him. So,
okay. What's it been like, since the world has opened back up and touring has come back? Is he doing like extra tour dates to make up for that?
Yeah, so we basically did not play for over 2 years.
Okay.
We did our last show in like May of 2019. And then because
that's pretty late. Like LA shut down in March. Like if he's still doing shows in May.
This was the year before COVID. And so
you're right. Correct. Okay. Yeah, my bad.
Our tour, and then we all went back to Nashville that following late February maybe, and we had started to rehearse and then very quickly got shut down. And they kept thinking, we'll probably bring you guys back in June or July, and they're like, we'll just keep postponing it. And then they were like, oh no, if this is canceled, we'll see if we can come back in 2021. And then in December, they called that off and that got canceled. And so it was like 2.5 years basically of not playing. And so when we came together to rehearse back in February of this year, it was like, whoa, this has been a really long time. Done this. So it was great. And I think they did try to like condense a bunch of shows. So we were doing football stadiums and then also outdoor amphitheaters. So we played actually, which was really cool.
Which one?
SoFi Stadium.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
I still haven't been there.
It's really cool.
Like I've flown over it coming back in and it just looks like a spaceship. Yeah, that's been ran into the ground.
Feels like a spaceship too.
Really?
Yeah, it was awesome though. I think one of the Jonas Brothers was at our show.
I don't know much about them.
I don't really.
So they had like a boy band situation, right? Then didn't one of them date Taylor Swift or something, and then went out and did his own thing?
I think so. Yeah, I can't remember. No, or
no idea. Like I would have no idea if I saw them. I don't know any of their tunes. That
Nick Jonas is the other one. Nick and then Joe Jonas. I don't know the difference between the two, but one of them was at the Kenny Chesney show in LA.
Okay.
That's kind of cool.
As a fan of Kenny. Kenny's been doing it for a while.
I know, like 20 something years. It's kind of
easily. I remember there was a big influx from Phoenix because I think for a while Kenny had a lot of guys from Phoenix in his band. And then a lot of people all thought that they were going to go out to Nashville and use these connects from Kenny's band to get into the scene out there. And so there was a whole, like right around maybe 03, 04, 05, like right in there. There was a big migration from Phoenix, and it was so much of it was based around Kenny.
I could see that. Yeah. Cause they're no longer in the band anymore, but our drummer and one of our guitar players are both from like that Phoenix area. So that
Who was the drummer?
Sean Paddock.
Okay. No, I didn't know.
So yeah, Sean Paddock and then Clayton Mitchell were both.
That name sounds familiar.
From that area. So
yeah.
That's crazy. And that was sort of like in the early days, you know, he was like Kenny was doing stuff in like the late 90s for sure, mid to late 90s. But I really started to like headline more instead. Like he flip flopped and was an opener for like Tim McGraw. And then suddenly the next summer he was like
like he was the headliner for.
Yeah. And it all happened around that like 2002 to 2004.
Yeah, that's when he kind of really started coming up. Is he still doing new material? Is he still putting out new records, or is a lot of it the old hits? Because I mean, when you're in the game that long, people definitely want to hear the old stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe even more so than the new stuff because it's been around so long.
He's still, definitely still cranking out new tunes. And he's doing like, I guess that's the thing, like releasing singles and not necessarily releasing record, you know.
Right.
So yeah, he put out a single recently, and like he did just put out another single that we played like our last two nights at Gillette Stadium. We kind of brought that song out.
That's Dallas, right?
That's Boston. Yeah, in Foxborough.
Okay.
So he's definitely still putting out new material, but like his fans are so nostalgic for the old stuff.
Yeah.
And there's so many number of his number one hits that we're not even playing, that we don't ever play. And a 2-hour set, you know, so it's
pretty crazy.
He has so many hits. I don't know. It's kind of wild.
Are you on the records?
I'm not on the records, but I don't think that's that.
That's pretty common to have his studio guys and road guys. Yeah.
So we did like a live record in 2017, you know.
That's cool.
That's kind of cool. So I was on that record.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't done any studio stuff with him, and yeah, which I'm good with.
Yeah. Any interest to start your own project? Have you? Are you interested in doing that? I mean, I'm actually talking one of the guys from Fastball. We've been talking about getting a project together, the two of us, for the last 5 years or something. Yeah, all right.
It's just one of those things like, okay, I'm home, and there's this whole decompression thing when you get home off the road, and then you get to see all your friends and your family. Right. And then it's like February will be here before I know it, you know? And then I'm like, our typical.
Are you going back out in February?
Yeah. Okay. So it'll be next year's, I think it's a shorter year. So we'll probably be done in May again. Then I'll have the rest of the year to do whatever I want. So I feel like the wheels or the ball's in motion kind of with potentially a new project.
What's the sound that's in your head for it?
I don't know. That's the thing. And he and I have to like figure out, you know, if we're going to write stuff together or if it's just going to be kind of a collaboration, because he's got a couple of other people. I brought some people to the table. So we want to kind of get this mass of people to see what happens, and maybe just start with like house dinner party jam thing with
and just see what happens. Yeah.
And maybe it's just an excuse to get together and hang out and drink
wine. Just a reason to drink. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Have you written before?
What's that?
Have you written either lyrics or music?
Yeah, I've written some songs for sure, but I'm just so.
What happened to them? Did you record a demo of them anywhere?
No, I've never really.
I feel like this should be the release right here. Let's just play it. Let's play it right now. Let's do it.
I have.
Introducing Harmoni Kelley, and go.
You are like everyone always asks me that.
Of course.
Like
I have a record sitting on a hard drive that I'm finally finishing. And same thing. Let me hear it. No, you're not going to hear it because it's not done.
Thing. And I don't know. I'm a shy person.
Okay.
I kind of turn into a different person on stage, but I definitely am more of an extroverted introvert. So, and it's that whole thing, right? Like as creatives, it's like, well, if you don't ever try and you don't ever put something out there, then you can never fail, you know?
Sure.
So but I don't want to get to, whatever, 40 years from now and be like, that was a dumb reason to not put out my own material because where's the bigger regret? So.
Yeah. And I mean, now it's kind of it seems like there's less whatever, there's not much to lose because everybody can put something out.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what are you really losing? It's just like, okay, people don't listen to it. All right. Well, they weren't listening to it before either. So yeah.
Every time I go into, I do sessions here or I'll do, like I've been doing this, there's this website that you probably know about. There's Air Gigs and then there's another one called Sound Better. And it's
I know about Air Gigs, but I like a friend of mine, a drummer, great R&B drummer, like ran into a bunch of problems with it. So he's like, don't do it. I'm like, all right.
Well, Sound Better, I've actually recorded a ton of stuff on Sound Better.
Really?
Yeah. And I did something and then now I have like repeat clients and I've never met these people.
Sounds great.
Remote bass tracks and stuff. But it's like some of the stuff is really cool. And then some of the stuff, it's like, it definitely made me think, man, why am I not doing
right? I know. Yeah, I know. Like, really, you're putting that out there? Like, that's kind of terrible.
Man, okay, make me less worried about my own stuff. So
Right, so when you get a session like this and the material isn't good,
yeah,
where do you go? How do you just kind of like, well, there's not much I can do with it, or do you do a deep dive and really see what you can extract?
I have definitely said no to some stuff that where I'm just like, I can't, like my soul is feeling a little crushed that I would say. So I've said no to a couple things.
Like I don't need the gig. Like I'm touring with Kenny. I don't need this to go buy groceries. So why don't I just pass on this one?
I don't want to just say yes to something just as like a quick cash grab, because music, it's so subjective and I want to feel it, and so even if it wasn't like great, it's like maybe they had, the drummer that they had and the other players, they were really good. And in my mind, I'm like, God, I hope they're thinking the same thing that I'm thinking, Yeah. Like we all came together and still made something really cool out of it and, was able to kind of get me out of my comfort zone a little bit. So, yeah.
Okay. Did you do a lot of that on 5 or 4? When you record?
Usually 4. Well, I've done both actually. Yeah.
Are you more comfortable on one over the other now?
For sure, still 4. I mean,
really?
Even all these years, I'm way more comfortable on a 4-string, because it's where I came from, I feel like it's my home. But no, I've definitely done some stuff on 5-string before. So. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So as a recap, we should look out for your EP, over the summer? Is that when it's coming out?
Yes. Let's just say.
Yeah, not necessarily what year, but the summer. The summer of 2035. Right. We'll look out for the.
No, I mean, I definitely. I feel like the universe puts, or whatever everybody believes, but it puts these little like hints and reminders and these little breadcrumbs out there for you, and that's one that's like keeps coming up in my life, where people constantly like, oh, you should do your own material. Man, you really need to be fronting your own band. You really need to, because Kenny.
That's a whole other thing. Fronting. Would you front it or would you just write and play bass? Like front front people, that's a skill.
I know.
I think that's in their blood. Like they need the attention. They need the immediate reaction. It's like a drug to them. I don't have that. I could never, ever do it.
I'm definitely more of a bass player for sure. So I would put up music, my own, EP, but tunes that I wrote and kind of got all my friends to play on just to put something out there. But, or maybe be in a band where I could play bass and help write, but not necessarily front the band. Okay. But I don't know. People ask me that all the time because I was Kenny actually put me up front singing an AC/DC song the first year.
Which one?
Whole Lot of Rosie.
Okay.
So, so then people after that were like, you should front your own band. I'm like, it's just, I don't know. I had to, it's cool because I see myself on videos and I'm like, is that me? That's crazy.
Really? How did you feel doing it? Did you feel comfortable doing it?
Yeah. I mean, yes, I did. Because we were quite a bit. And so then the first, it's on. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. But the first time, first rehearsal where you had to get up.
Oh, I thought he had a whole.
I have so much anxiety. I have anxiety thinking about it right now.
He was going to sing it. And then it was like, no, that's not working. And then he was like, well, why don't Harmony come sing the chorus with me on the mic? And I was like, okay. He's like, no, that's not working. And then he was like, you should sing it. And I laughed at him. And he was like, it's way more in your range than mine. He was like, let's just, come in tomorrow and we'll print the lyrics out and we'll do it. And I was like, okay, he's serious. And the whole crew was just like, what? So even now, we brought it back during the sound check recently and we ended up doing it at one of the shows, like recently, I think Boston maybe. Okay. And the crew was just like, yeah, because they're all old school rock roadies. Right. For them to hear somebody singing AC/DC, it's like, yeah,
they're into it. They're way into it. Wrapping up, what are any memorable gig fails? I always like asking people this, where things just go kind of south, with production or getting to the gig or.
Oh man, that's a really.
Because it could always go one of two ways, right? On a big tour, either nothing because there's so much of a team there to protect the gigs, so nothing will go bad. Yeah. Or because there's so many moving parts, something is bound to go bad.
I mean, stuff always goes can go wrong, but it's just I don't, we all have these little moments where God, I don't even know. He'll forget the lyrics to a song, and then have to start the whole song over.
Live? During the show? Oh, wow. Yeah. How does he play that off?
It's kind of what I love about him because he doesn't take himself too seriously. And so, that's cool. And I think it makes him more relatable to the audience because he'll stop. Yeah. I totally forgot the words, or I just sang the second verse. What are the words to the first verse? Sing it back to him, 60,000 people.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's stuff like that, or just the drummer, or the drummer cued the wrong thing and the slate is for the wrong song. And it's just then we all start the wrong song, or, he'll cue the right song and then the guitar player starts to play the guitar riff from a totally wrong song. And we all, wait, what's going on right now? So it's just
so who makes the executive decision? Do you just go, if the guitar guy starts the wrong song, do you just play the wrong song?
Well, I think what we did. Or
does the drummer cue up the slate for the one he's playing?
I think that the band leader got on the 911 channel in his ear and was like, John, you're playing the wrong song. And by the time the verse kicked in, he seamlessly.
He made it.
It's little stuff thank God for the 911 channel.
Yeah. I love the talkback mic. I love the live talkback mic.
Well, the funny thing is on our tour, it's a lot it's mostly shenanigans and most.
Oh yeah. That's the best part of it. It's like trying to get someone to laugh during a solo or something. It's a total blooper reel. It's the best.
Our band leader has all these little toys over there, and he's our keyboard player as well. So he's got the Leslie and the B3 and then, the Nord, and he's got his little platform over there. And then off to the side, he's got little shelves with the 911, and he has he'll pull out this old school recorder, and he'll do when someone's taking it's a ballad and just Kenny's the guitar players, and he'll do it's the most
theme to Titanic.
Ever. So like little stuff like that, or like wardrobe malfunctions, or like our guitar player like tripped and fell out on the catwalk tee.
Oh, wow.
Like bent down and looked back at us and pretended like, and so he came back on the 911 and he was like, I totally just fell down and just stayed down there because I didn't know what to do. Like I was like ripping a cool solo, but he's like, I love that stuff though. And none of us take ourselves too seriously. So it's easy to sort of just like,
that's cool. And it sounds like Kenny sets the tone for that and creates the environment for all that. Because I mean, it always goes downhill. So if he were high strung, everybody would absorb that. And
he's so awesome. He's like the greatest boss, he's really great to work with. So
what would be the, not to anything against Kenny Chesney and the tour, but what would be the ultimate dream gig?
Ooh, honestly, well, I mean, musically, I would say Prince, although he's not around. But I also know people that have played with Prince before, and he's really, really was difficult to work with and for in so many different.
I've heard the same thing, yeah.
So for that part, I don't know that I would want to put myself in that type of environment, knowing what I know about him.
Right.
Musically, I mean, it would be amazing. I'm a big Bowie fan, so I mean, unfortunately, people I would love to play with are no longer with us. But and then maybe Beck.
Well, that seems like it'd be a cool one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Justin Meldal Johnson, and so he had that gig for years and years and years. And first time I saw him play, it totally changed my mind about what bass was on a in a band setting, and just like because he would just play with all these pedals and sometimes use a pick, use his fingers, he had thumb, palm mute thing, but everything that he did was like so perfect for the song.
Right.
And so it really like opened my eyes to what a bass, what bass could be,
Right. Right. Did you ever explore the effects?
A little bit.
Sure there's not a space for it on Kenny's gig, but
there's
your own time.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like you can't get too experimental on like a modern gig.
Yeah, there's no phase shifters on.
Yeah. I mean, I use this one little like a chorusy kind of thing for one part of one chorus of a song, and then I have like a Sans amp just for some like cool overdrive, because there are some cool like rock and roll moments in our set that are more of a rock band than a country band.
Okay, all right,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Harmony, this has been fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for chatting.
Hit me up when the EP's out. We're gonna talk about that.
I think you planted the seed. So you put the bug.
Yeah. This summer, right? It's like June 12th, I think, is the release date. That's what I heard. Yep. That was my talk with Harmoni Kelley. If you are enjoying the Bass Shed podcast, please hit subscribe wherever you are listening to it. Also, stop by thebasshed.com/podcast/Harmoni Kelley. Check out her website and follow her on Instagram at Harmoni Kelley. Speaking of social media, I'm sure I've talked about it, a time or two here on the podcast. All right, my social media stuff got hacked a few months ago, and it all got shut down, right? Like, because Instagram is now owned by Meta, the Facebook, whatever you want to call it. I can't even think of a good word that's appropriate to say on the air. Regime, maybe the Facebook regime. Anyways, because they're linked, Facebook got hacked, and so Instagram got hacked also. But you can find me still on Instagram at _bass_shed. And I had to start a new profile to build all that up. So I'm there. You can stop by thebasshed.com for some transcriptions that are up, and I am shooting some new videos that will be up, and also, get back into the game a little bit with the transcriptions. So I have some more stuff up there. Stop by thebasshed.com. See if anything seems appealing to you. Shoot me an email at ryan@thebassshed.com. And that's all I got for this one, folks. That's all I got. I will catch you on the next one in a minute.